Hello folks, welcome to In the KM, my brand new YouTube channel where we will be discussing all things Falkirk FC with just one South Standers point of view, with yourselves, the Falkirk supporters. My name's Ray. Just wanted to chat a little bit about the purpose of this video in terms of want to give you all an overview of the type of content you can expect. This particular video is going to be a bit more serious in tone, but generally speaking, I want to keep things light-hearted and have a bit of a joke in that. The type of videos I'm going to be uploading are going to be things like team news, transfers, match previews, and then also reactions. In terms of when you can expect videos, I'm typically going to upload on a Thursday night for things like your match previews, providing it's a Saturday kick-off midweek. It'll probably be that your match previews will be maybe a couple of days before the game, just to to give you an idea of the type of schedule. And then reaction videos, most likely Saturday night or into Sunday morning, again assuming it's a Saturday 3 PM kick-off. When it comes to things like big club news and transfers, those are really just going to be uploaded on more of a as and when basis. Okay. What I also want to do on this particular video is just introduce myself a little bit and talk about my journey with Falkirk Football Club so far. Okay, so first things first as well, I just want to address the lack of editing. I really wanted this video to be as honest and as raw as possible, blemishes and all. So thanks for bearing with me on that. Going forward, I'm going to be utilising a bit more video editing and things, but truth be told, I'm pretty crap at this stuff, but I'll try my best. So, introducing myself a little bit more. Why do I want to do this? So I noticed that whilst there's a lot of really, really good podcasts concerning Falkirk, the Falkirk Daft, Walking Down Hope Street, and the official podcast as well, all of which are fantastic, by the way, and if you've not listened to any of them, please do. The Falkirk Daft upload every single week, discussing the upcoming matches. Walking Down Hope Street's a fantastic source of information about it's all like previous player interviews. It's fantastic. And then the official one, a little bit less regular with that one. But yeah, on to the reason why I've chose to do this is that I noticed that there's not really anybody doing these types of videos. There's a lot of match day vlogs, which, don't get me wrong, are really, really good, but I don't think I could do that any better than anybody else. There's definitely a gap in the market. There's nobody doing this type of content for Falkirk specifically, and to be honest, this is the kind of content that I want to see, and I just got tired of waiting on somebody else doing it, so fine, I'll do it. Some of you that do keep an eye on Falkirk Daft will remember that I was on there just a week or so ago. That was a huge bit of inspiration for me because I really, really enjoyed talking about the football and the analysis and the debating and the breaking down. I absolutely loved it, and I just wanted to do it more. It was a fantastic experience on there. Again, anybody that's wanting to get into this type of thing, Falkirk Daft, I can't praise them enough. Really giving me the confidence to give this a shot. So the next thing I want to address, again, for anybody that was watching or listening to Falkirk Daft, I did allude to the fact that I'm not a lifelong supporter of this football club. The elephant in the room was that I grew up supporting Rangers, but as I'm sure you are aware, that's not a Rangers badge on my shirt, and nope, not in the hat either. So, in terms of where my journey really starts, I started getting into football when I was about 14. This is in 2004, in case anybody's trying to work out what age I'm. Early days of getting into football, I did get taken to a few games at Brockville in the 90s when I was a wee boy, but football really wasn't for me back then. I didn't have the attention span for it. I found it really boring. I couldn't concentrate. So whilst I was at Brockville a few times, don't remember who we played, don't remember the scores. I barely remember anything other than standing and terracing and being bored out my absolute gourd. Right. Next time I was at a Falkirk match when I was actually into football was the 1-0 versus Ross County in 2005, where I sat in the North Stand that day, which, looking back, is a really surreal experience because I know there's not many Falkirk supporters that they can say they've sat there. I know that there was Trophy Day as well, which I'll get to a little bit later on. But funnily enough, I sat there then as well, which is this weird circle, if you like. During my formative years of getting into football, from 14 onwards or so, I did always have a soft spot for Falkirk. I always wanted to, please forgive me when I say this next phrase, because I know fine well how much this phrase winds up people that don't support the Old Firm when they hear people who followed Rangers or Celtic say things like, I wanted to see them do well, because I know how empty a statement that is. Like, what does that even mean? Like, if you want them to do well, then you could actually do something to support. But yeah, it was sentiment only. It didn't really mean anything. But did meet some of the players, when the shop was still in the Howgate in the old Wimpy. If you know, you know. In 2006, I remember meeting Pedro Martino. He was a pretty cool guy. I remember as well the Scottish Cup final in 2009. Now, obviously, I was on the other side at this point, but I remember feeling so conflicted that day because, it was another trophy for Rangers, but it meant everything to Falkirk. I wasn't even really involved in the culture of Falkirk at the time, but I understood that. Even at that point, I understood that. I knew how much it would have meant for the club, supporters, the town, everyone. And then Falkirk played so well that day, and correct me if I'm wrong, hit the crossbar, I think maybe hit the post as well. I know Neil McCann might have been the post, not 100% sure on that, but I know that Falkirk deserved to win that day, and they didn't, and I just remember I didn't really even celebrate it all that much. As well, it was sad seeing Falkirk get relegated in 2010. What a shock, because again, from somewhat of an outside perspective, you're thinking, only a year prior, you're in a Scottish Cup final and you're looking forward to European ties, and it was a bizarre time. I'm sure I don't need to tell anybody of a Falkirk persuasion. I'm just trying to give you my perspective on things a wee bit. Also, I wanted to talk about that cup game in 2011. This is where my viewpoint for Rangers really started solidifying by this point. That cup game really changed things for me a wee bit. Dare I say, even a wee bit of resentment started creeping in towards Falkirk and the fan base a wee bit. Oh, that game was absolutely devastating for former me, if you like. I just remember the scenes. I remember the limbs. I remember people ending up 4 or 5 rows down. It was that big of a result. And I think that a lot of that resentment was maybe early seeds, which again I'll come to a wee bit later on. But Falkirk, yeah, when I was still following Rangers all the time, Falkirk were a right thorn in the side of Rangers. Some of the battles in 2015-16 were probably Rangers' hardest games outside of Hibs and Hearts that season. In fact, I would definitely say that was the case. I can't believe that Falkirk team didn't get promoted. That just couldn't get over the line against the usual culprits, Kilmarnock, as per usual. What can you do? So, on to why the change. Why am I not doing a YouTube channel talking about Rangers? So really, this is something that had grown over, let's say, a number of years. I would probably say that the time you can really start pinpointing where the seeds start is probably 2014 with some things I don't really want to get into, but that's really when some of it starts. In general, I felt like towards the end of when I was still following Rangers, I was just losing my love for football a wee bit, to be perfectly honest with you. I started feeling a bit trapped as well. I felt stuck. In terms of some of the things that were contributing towards this, we can't no talk about the sectarianism side of things. We can't pretend that that's not an issue. When you don't buy into the bigotry and the politics and all the beliefs and all the other baggage, all the other crap that comes along with supporting that particular team, anti-Scottish sentiments as well, and just the general toxicity at Ibrox and just Rangers in general, it started to weigh really, really heavy on me to the point where it felt like football was the sideshow, and all of that other crap that I just mentioned there felt like it took more of a centre stage. And when you're coming from a place where I don't buy into any of that nonsense, I really don't. It's no me. But the worst part is that I tried to be like that as well in a way to fit in, but it wasn't who I was, and it just made me more unhappy. Something else as well is just that, outside of when Rangers play Celtic, the expectancy is that you're expected to beat every single team that you play, not including in Europe. And going into every single game with this overwhelming expectancy of winning, it's boring. It's boring to win, and it's absolutely infuriating to draw a game, and it's the absolute worst thing in the world to, God forbid, lose a game of football. And that's something else I think I just really, really started to get really tired with, is this manic mindset that exists with following Rangers, or I presume it's the same at Celtic, although they've been so successful for so many years now that maybe less of an issue with them. But yeah, just this, you're not allowed to draw a game, and if you lose a game, it's booing the players off the pitch and going in radio phone-ins and hurling abuse at players and calling them all embarrassments and disgraces and that. It was a lot. So yeah, the not having a sense of belonging, that was really a huge thing for me as well. Feeling like an outsider, imposter syndrome if you like. I still went to the games all the time because I absolutely adore going to football. It's something that I can't describe, but when a goal's scored and you lose yourself for that 5-10 seconds after a goal goes in, when it's a game you're not expected to win, a game where you didn't think you were going to get a goal, or it's a 90th minute goal or something, like these things, experiencing them live, there's nothing on earth that compares to it. It's like a drug. It's so addictive. There's nothing like it. So I'm losing my passion, but I still love football. So you can see the conundrum that I've got at this point. What do? I don't know. At this point, I just feel incredibly conflicted about everything, and I just don't know what to do. Something changes last summer when I start watching Welcome to Wrexham. That's the documentary that's on Disney Plus, which is fantastic, by the way. Please do watch it if you haven't already. Welcome to Wrexham changes things because the first episode, they spend a lot of time talking about not just the football club, but the community and the town. Sorry, excuse me. And what it all means. And I don't want to say anything particularly corny or cheesy, if you like, but there was almost like an epiphany moment during this episode where they started talking about these things, and they're talking to the supporters and how they can keep going back time and time again to the racecourse ground when it's been 14 years of agony and hurt and false dawns and bad managers and bad board members and worse players. And why do they keep going back? And it's because they have this unconditional, unwavering love for this club that's so integral to their identity because they're of that town. It's not just a football club to them, it's their heritage, it's everything to them. They wouldn't change it for anything in the world. These people live and die by this club. And at that point, that's when I really, really understood that following a community club, it means something more than just following a football team. It does. And when I was younger, I never understood that. I used to question majorly why people would follow a Falkirk or a Motherwell or a St Mirren or any other team like that. Why? When you're not guaranteed success or trophies. Why would you want to put yourself through all that misery? I couldn't understand it. Something as well, though, that the Welcome to Wrexham really talks about is when it comes to the community side of things, they delved into the town itself, and they talked about the mining, that there used to be a mining community, really strong working class background, and then all of that had disappeared. And I just remember when I was watching that, I was just thinking, that sounds a lot like the place that I'm from. And the more I thought about it, the more it just made sense, to the point where I couldn't come up with a single argument against why I shouldn't just do something that I could tell was going to make me happy. So, the journey starts with Falkirk Football Club last summer. Like I said, there's so many other pieces that have been in place up until this point, but Welcome to Wrexham's really the catalyst. That's where I wake up. I remember I spoke about this with a couple of friends, a couple of family members as well. I remember somebody suggesting, why don't you still just keep following Rangers and have Falkirk as your wee team? And straight away I knew that was disrespectful. I'm sure I don't even need to ask any of you. Do any of you think Falkirk's a small team? Would any of you take kindly to anybody else referring to this club as a wee team? Falkirk are not a small club. I thought Falkirk were a big enough team before I started really getting into this. They're a far bigger team than I ever realised. So I started going to games at the start of last season. And yeah, as John so eloquently put on the Falkirk Daft, yeah, connotations of being a glory hunter, but again, that's with hindsight and retrospect, if you like. It's important to bear in mind that I jumped on in the aftermath of us getting cuffed by Airdrie very badly as well. But if the shoe fits, I'll wear it. I'm more than happy to continue being called a glory hunter, because if that is the case, as I again said on Falkirk Daft, is the longer that continues, the better. I will happily die on that hill. I'll be a glory hunter because it means we'll go all the way back to the Premiership. So I'll take it. I'll take being a glory hunter all the way up until May. So at this point, I'm going to the games. I'm really, my toes dipped in the water at this point. I'm not going to away games at this point, but I am going to the home games. Imposter syndrome, it still exists a wee bit. It does. But it's a smaller scale at this point. I still feel like a bit of an outsider. Things like not really knowing my way around the stadium, other things like that. I'm worried about conversations that I have with supporters where you'll see straight through me and you'll know. But when it comes to moments that solidified my support and things that you could call, I don't know, what, core memories maybe. We're talking things like the Aki's game away in December 2023. This is a big moment for me in my journey following this team. Like I said, I'd already been going to all the games at this point, but I didn't feel truly like a supporter. I felt like I was posing as one. But something changes this day. I remember the train journey through to Hamilton, and you could practically cut the atmosphere with a knife. You know, the same sound bites would be reverberating across every supporter, even if people weren't specifically talking about it. John McGlynn can't get the job done against his rivals. We're staring part-time football in the face. We cannot bottle this again. We've bottled it so many times. We cannot bottle it. We need to win this game. We cannot bottle it. Like I said, you could feel it. It was palpable. The sense of nerves, fear, excitement. You could feel it all on the way to New Douglas Park that day. You could sense it. And when we took the lead, I just remember this explosion of emotion that it was. I got completely swept up by it, and then it was cut short by Aki's equalising in really cruel fashion, and again you could sense it, the nerves creeping back in. Here we go again. No again. We'd started the season really well. We're not going to bottle it again against our rivals. We can't. No again. And then we retake the lead. And then we go on to score again. And it was just, it's absolutely up there with one of the best games I've ever been to. You know, I've been to Ibrox on European nights. I've went to Scotland matches as well. That day at New Douglas Park, I'm not blowing smoke up anybody's arse when I say this. The atmosphere that the Falkirk supporters generated that day, and shout out to the ultras, by the way, they were immense that day. I mean, I had a pretty poor opinion of ultra, just the culture behind that in general up until that point. I didn't really understand it, but I felt like I started to understand it at that point. I started to understand that specifically the Ultras 1876 are the heartbeat of this club. Absolutely they are. They are so integral to how we operate on the pitch. Absolutely, can't praise them enough. So, in terms of your core memories, your formulative stuff, next one, Montrose away in March of this year. This day, wow. Where to begin with this day? After cruelly having been able to win the league at home snatched away from us, cheers Ackies, the previous week at home to Edinburgh City, was it? The 4-0. We go up to Montrose knowing that even if Ackies win, we win the league. It's done. No more pain, no more suffering. We are back in the Championship. And I just remember the journey up there. It was really, really exciting. And sitting in the pub, counting by the minutes with all the other supporters, seeing the Ackies weren't winning. And look, again, I'm not blowing smoke up anybody's arse when I say, look, this particular day, it didn't mean as much to me as it meant to all of you. Of course not. I'm not going to try and say for 1 second that it did. But it was really special being a part of it. I enjoyed every minute of that experience, and it's one that I'll absolutely never forget. Running onto the pitch at full time and seeing grandfathers with fathers with their kids as well, people hugging and crying because man, this club had been through a lot, and it was just this release of everything that had been built up over the last 5 years. You know, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and it was finally over. The next day I want to talk about being Trophy Day. Now, this day was really, really special for me on a personal basis because whilst the game itself was fantastic, you know, coming back for 2-0 down in dramatic fashion, God knows how Brad Spencer had the stones to take that penalty. He has got nerves of steel, let me tell you. Don't know how he done it. I couldn't do it. I could barely even look at it. You've all seen the videos of Callum Morrison on the sidelines. The guy who takes our penalties couldn't watch Brad Spencer take that penalty. What a guy, honestly. The game itself was amazing. The celebrations on the pitch after it were fantastic, but the night out afterwards in Falkirk, that's a huge core memory as well. Just the absolute joy and elation on every supporter's face. Everybody I spoke to that night, even people where I had honest conversations with them and told them about my previous support for Rangers. I just remember people were just buzzing that I don't do that anymore, and it meant a lot. It really did. I finally started to feel that sense of belonging that I'd never had before, and it really did. It resonated. Something else I want to actually just reserve a bit of special mention for is the Hearts Cup game, just not too long back there. This game, this was up there. This rivals any European game that I ever went to. This was special. I'll never forget the absolute limbs when the first goal went in, and then it just was like 10 times more when the second one went in. You know, my watch registered over 90 decibels. That's how loud the place was when that second goal went in. I just remember I was sitting with my partner who goes to the games with me now as well. I've not really mentioned that. I got her into following Falkirk as well. She never ever went to a Rangers game with me, but she's now a season ticket holder alongside me. Guess where we sit? Yeah, with the Hearts game, I distinctly remember it's maybe about 2 minutes to full time. I remember looking over to the side where the ultras were, and I just remember I just sat back like this, and I just took it all in for about 10-20 seconds. The noise, the level of support, it was really overwhelming to the point where it got me a wee bit emotional. It did. And I remember my partner asked me, "Is everything all right?" And I turned back, and there was probably like tears or whatever, and I just quickly wiped it away, you know, because macho bullshit or whatever. But yeah, that was a huge moment as well. I felt completely at home at that point, and as I'm sure you get a sense of by this point, that's something that was really, really core to what I wanted to achieve, and I 100% feel like that now. At this point, I get it. I get what it means. I get what it means to follow this club. I moved away from Falkirk back in 2014. I now live in Ayrshire. I feel like I was maybe starting to lose my connection with this town a wee bit. You know, I'd maybe come back every now and again, maybe 2-3 times a year or whatever, to see family and that. But I didn't really have any reason to be in the town other than that. Going back to the Falkirk Stadium every couple of weeks, it's really made me fall back in love with the town that I grew up in. It means something, you know, that that's not just a football club. It means something. That's where a lot of my family members are buried. It's where I grew up. It's our heritage. It's so much more than just supporting a football team. It I go back to the unconditional love side of things. It's absolutely that. I completely understand it now. Something else as well, the community side of things. I talk to the same people on social media. Hopefully, some of you are watching. I recognise faces when I go to games. I know people are starting to recognise me as well. Reconnected with people I've not seen since I was at school, and just the sense of belonging, the feeling close to the club. I feel like I could bump into Jamie Swinney and have a pint with him and talk for half an hour, and I genuinely get the sense that he's the kind of guy that would give you the time if he could spare it. He seems like a genuine, down to earth, approachable person. It feels like as a supporter of this club, you're very close to the club in general. Now I know that wasn't always the case. I know that don't want to talk about nights at the Enshire or anything like that. I know that things were different, but it's not like that now. So yeah, true supporters, absolutely. You're all people that live and die by this club, and I didn't understand it before, but I do now. So, in conclusion, just want to say first of all, thanks to anyone who is still watching up until this point. Again, I want to apologise for the lack of editing and any rambling that I've done throughout this video. I've tried to keep that to a minimum. Just want to remind you all again of the schedule on which I'm going to be uploading. So again, Thursday evenings for match previews for Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoffs, Saturday night into Sunday morning for your match reaction videos, and then news, transfer, and other big news, etc. just get uploaded on an as and when basis. Also, just want to apologise as well for any issues with the video at all. I'm really, really new to video editing. I promise I'll get better if you stick with me. And last of all, I want to just say thank you so much for taking the time out to watch this video. I hope to see you all again. Please do take care, and I hopefully will catch you in the next video. And come on, you Bairns.